Hi everyone, it's Allie Phillips, and I'm really happy to be here talking to you about the safe blending of essential oils and crystals. And a big thank you to Doc Ali for inviting me to speak to you today on this really fascinating topic. So again, my name is Allie Phillips, and the information I'm going to talk about today is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All the information I am presenting is based on my education and practical hands-on experience. So let me tell you a little bit about me so that you'll understand why I'm talking about this topic. So I am a former prosecuting attorney. I have been an attorney since 1994, and I spent many years in the courtroom as a criminal prosecutor. I am internationally recognized for my work on behalf of animals and the investigation and prosecution of animal abuse, as well as how animal abuse links to family violence, such as domestic violence, child abuse, and elder abuse. And I have traveled all over the country and all over the world speaking as a legal educator to criminal justice audiences about how to handle these investigations and prosecutions in an effective manner. And I am a published author. I've been published over 50 times. I have a couple of animal protection books on Amazon. I've written a couple of essential oil books. I am also the founder and CEO of a nonprofit that I created called Sheltering Animals and Families Together. And it's where we help domestic violence shelters to create on-site pet housing. And I created this nonprofit to resolve the problem of how animal abuse links to family violence and allowing the entire family to get to safety together. But I also own a healing business called Manifested Harmony that I created in 2011. So I have been multi-careered for a decade now. And in my healing business, I am certified 3 times in 3 different modalities as a master teacher. So I teach energy healing classes for people as well as for pets. I am a certified health coach. I am a Young Living brand partner leader. And when you put it all together, I am a holistic wellness consultant because I believe in multiple approaches to finding our wellness. But I am also an advanced crystal master. I trained extensively for 18 months with a science teacher about a decade ago. And after earning 2 certifications, I have continued on with additional education, and I teach extensively about crystals. And so for a decade, I have really been learning and teaching in a very unique way about the science and the spiritual metaphysics of crystals and how they really work with our body, mind, and spirit. Because crystals are just not pretty little stones. They have a very powerful benefit that work at the cellular level and at the DNA level in our body. And so I actually teach in-person classes where I live in Lansing, Michigan, and I offer all of my classes online. And it's really been wonderful teaching online for the past year and reaching international crystal enthusiasts, so many of which are in Young Living. And these Young Living brand partners are adding oily crystal education in how they educate their team about wellness. And I just love that. It's literally blending the best of all of my worlds together and inspiring others in how they share with their team and how they teach. So these are the classes that I teach. And if you are really intrigued about crystals, I would encourage you to hop into one of my classes. I tend to teach these about 3 times a year. And so just go to the manifestedharmony.com website to check it out. And anyone who graduates from any of my crystal classes, they are then invited to join my membership group called the Crystal Cluster, where we do continuing education. And it's just a great place to ask questions and mingle with other people. And as of right now, almost everybody in that group are Young Living members. So it's really neat to come together with our love of oils and crystals. And as a result of a dramatic spike in interest in blending essential oils and crystals, which has happened over the last couple of years, I've been doing that for a decade, but I started seeing some dangerous recommendations. And they were being made by some businesses who sell crystal roller bottles and even some essential oil leaders. And so I put my education and my practical experience together in the Oily Crystal book, which has been overwhelmingly embraced by the essential oil and the crystal community as the go-to source in how to do this. So stay to the end, because I have a special discount code if you wish to get either of my books. Whew. All right, let's dive in. Why would we want to pair crystals and essential oils together? Well, I think we can all agree that we live in a strange time in our world, and feeling our best in body, mind, and spirit is really important. And it is especially important for anyone who owns their own business, whether it's a Young Living business or another business. Because if you crash physically, emotionally, or mentally, so does your business. And I know this all too well because I have 3 businesses. But we also just want to stay well physically, right? Blending the vibrational frequencies of essential oils and crystals can enhance the benefits of both, which I will explain in a couple of minutes. Because crystals, like essential oils, provide a myriad of benefits at all of our energy levels. Our physical energy level, emotional, mental, spiritual, all of the energy levels can benefit. And in all of my energy healing and essential oil classes, I promote the layering of energy techniques for enhanced wellness. So it's about using your essential oils, your crystals, affirmations, meditation, color therapy, sound frequency, and so on. And so this is another wellness tool in your toolkit. So let's dig in a little bit about frequencies. I talk about this more extensively in the book, and I really talk about it in my crystal classes. But here's the short story that you may already know. Everything in existence is made of vibrational energy, of frequencies. That includes crystals, essential oils, water, the air around you, the computer you're looking at, the desk you're sitting at, and you. Everything in existence is made of vibrational energy. So in the Oily Crystal book, I actually go over 3 physics principles that relate to crystals and explain how our energy synchronizes with crystals. So just briefly, the principle of resonance. This occurs when a larger vibration, a larger energy is present, and then similar vibrations that are smaller will actually synchronize with it. So a lower vibration is going to synchronize with the higher one. Good example of that, if you've ever worked with tuning forks or have seen tuning fork demonstrations, a tuning fork that is tuned to note C will get other tuning forks of note C to vibrate with it. So the short story is that this is a mutual energy that works off of each other. A good example on how that works with people is that when you're feeling really content or okay, you're feeling good, not super happy, not super sad, but just you're feeling good. And you come across someone who is really happy or really negative, you will synchronize to where they are, because you feeling good are actually the smaller vibration. A larger vibration doesn't necessarily mean better, because that larger vibration can be really happy or really negative. And have you had that happen? Where they bring you to where they are. In my classes, I actually joke that this is what Tony Robbins does. He uses the principle of resonance to get everybody jumping up and down, and the next thing you know, you're walking across fire coals. So that's the principle of resonance. So let's go one step further. Let's talk about the energy of humans. So you're probably aware of this, but Gary Young tested some frequencies with Dr. Teneo back in the late 90s. And while these tests that were done at that time have not been replicated to validate the information, I think we can all agree that certain things raise our energy and certain things lower our energy. What I have learned and experienced in my work is that a healthy human body synchronizes with the frequency of the earth. So when we're healthy, we are in synchronicity with the earth. And if you want to get in synchronicity with the earth, just go put your feet on the ground. And it makes sense because when we're in nature and we're putting our feet on the ground, we feel our best. Think about when you go to the beach or you go to the mountains or the woods. You feel really great, right? So everything around us is either raising our frequency or lowering it. And this is why you may feel like you're on a roller coaster some days. Now, the things that can lower our frequency, which if our frequency goes below a baseline, what's called a base resonant frequency, that's when we don't feel good. That's when we can drop into physical or emotional illness. So things that lower our frequency are lack of sleep, stress, fear, worry. All the negative emotions that you can think of, anger, hatred, resentment, acidic foods, unhealthy relationships, drinking coffee and alcohol, which that breaks my heart. I love coffee. And every now and then I have to have a dirty martini. I'm just going to put it out there, folks. But then I do things to raise my vibration while I'm doing that. But drinking coffee and alcohol can lower your frequency. Medications, cigarettes, electromagnetic frequencies like Wi-Fi, all of these things can lower our frequency. But things that can raise us up, positivity. So thinking positive, being around positive people, meditating, giving prayer, receiving prayer, energy healing, eating real food. Like you look at the food and you can say, that's a tomato, that's a walnut. Fresh air, being out in nature, moving, whether it's exercise or walking or, even if you're on a conference call, like get up from your chair and just move while you talk. Mantras and affirmations, visualizing, vision boards, and also working with crystals and essential oils. All of these are going to raise your frequency. And so when you think about that wellness line, we don't want to drop below it when it comes to frequency. We always want to stay above it. So let me give you a little crash course on the energy of crystals. It usually takes me 3 to 4 hours to explain this in my basic crystal healing class, so I'm going to try to do it in like 3 minutes. Okay, here's the short story. Crystals have what's called a fixed repeating crystalline structure. All crystals are made up of minerals. All rocks and stones are made up of minerals, but not all rocks and stones, like what you find out in your yard, not all of them are going to become a crystal. Okay? And not every mineral is going to become a crystal, but all crystals have minerals in them and they have a fixed repeating crystalline structure. So everything in existence has what's called a base resonant frequency or a dominant oscillatory rate. We have it, the desk you're sitting at has it. The frequency is what determines what the thing is. Now for crystals, it is fixed and it is in an orderly crystalline structure. It actually has what's called a crystal lattice that differentiates it from a rock or a stone. And I know a lot of people use the word stone and rock when they're talking about crystals, but they, in my world, in the crystal world, they have very specific meanings. So crystals are fixed, they have an orderly crystalline lattice structure, and as a result, they have the lowest state of entropy of anything. Entropy is decaying or destruction. So humans and animals, we suffer from pretty high levels of entropy because our physical structure and our cells and our DNA are not fixed. So our dominant oscillatory rate, our base resonant frequency, our vibe, if you want to call it, changes all the time, right? You can come into contact with a really happy person. They will change your frequency. You can come into a contact with a really negative person. They will change your frequency. Crystals don't change at the atomic level. It's why they are millions and billions of years old. They don't change. So I want you to think back to that principle of resonance that I just talked about larger vibration, smaller vibration. Through the principle of resonance, when we come into contact with a crystal, our energy field will synchronize or entrain or resonate with the energy field of the crystal, because the crystal structure is of a larger, higher frequency or energy amplitude. It literally dominates our body because we fluctuate and change all the time. Crystals don't. We suffer from entropy. Our body is constantly growing and dying, growing and dying. Our cells turn over all the time, right? That doesn't happen with crystals. So crystals actually have an energy field that has been measured with Kirlian photography, which you're seeing on your screen. I also measure the energy field of crystals with dowsing rods, and I demonstrate this in my crystal classes. So with crystals, there are a range of frequencies, from crystals that will ground you and calm you to crystals that are very high vibrational that raise your energy up. We don't have standardized frequencies in crystals because each crystal is unique and will vibrate differently. And it just depends on where in the earth it was dug up from. Did it come from Arkansas or Brazil or Madagascar? 3 very different areas on the planet. And where in, the crystal matrix was the crystal broken off from? So we don't have standardized frequencies of crystals. It's not possible to do it. Let's talk about the energy of essential oils. So what we know through that principle of resonance is that when an essential oil has a higher, larger frequency than an issue, it can neutralize it. So an issue may be, I want to feel happy. I'm just feeling kind of, blah. I want to feel happy. So an essential oil, the higher frequency, can neutralize it, can raise it up. Here's the thing. Essential oils do not have a structure as solid as a crystal. Essential oils are like humans and animals. High rates of entropy, fluctuate. Because plants, look at the plants and the trees and the botanicals outside. They grow in the spring, they flourish in the summer, they get harvested typically in the fall, they die off in the winter. That's entropy. So they don't have the structure like a crystal, so they don't dominate like a crystal does. But what we know is that essential oils with high frequencies are really good for emotions and emotional energy. And as such can really raise the frequency of the body. And then essential oils with a lower frequency are more effective for physical energy in the body. Now, there are a lot of essential oil. Okay, I'm just going to go here. I've talked with Doc Ali about this, but I'm just going to go down this path. And I hope you can hear it for how I'm intending it, and it's education to make you aware. There are a lot of essential oil frequency graphics that circulate online that are based on testing that Gary did back in 1999. Now, here's the thing about frequencies, especially related to essential oils. The Earth's frequency is dramatically changing and has been for several years. This is something that I track. And the Earth's frequency has been tracked since 1952, and it fluctuates all the time. It's been spiking dramatically since 2017. Anything on the Earth is going to be impacted by these changes, these spikes in the frequency. So essential oils are impacted because the botanicals are impacted. Where they are grown is impacted. When they are harvested is impacted. I believe that Gary knew this. So for us to say that roses of a specific frequency, 320 megahertz, may have been true in one snapshot in time, but is it really true today? We don't know. And I know that may fly in the face of what you've been taught, but I just think about it practically, and nothing is static on this planet. Nothing is set in stone unless you're a crystal, and then literally you are set in stone. So essential oils can fluctuate just like we can. I mean, we aren't set in stone as a human body, so why would the oils? So here's what I believe based on my education and experience. These graphics are a guideline to help us understand that some oils are generally of a higher frequency than our body, and some are of a lower frequency than a healthy human body. Lower frequency doesn't mean that it's going to lower our body below that wellness line. You know, in the book, I talk about the principle of interference. And short story is that when you add two things together, when you take two frequencies, they can add together and create a whole new frequency. That's the principle of interference. So you can take the frequency of the body and the frequency of an oil, and if the oil is lower than the human body, they add together and go up. Okay? So a lower frequency oil still adds to our frequency. Okay, does that make sense? All right. So I wanted to show you this because it really helps to visualize what I call an energy imprint. And if you have ever read any of the water experiment books by Dr. Masaru Emoto, they are phenomenal and fascinating. Because Dr. Emoto proved that water transforms to whatever it is exposed to. He did all of these studies where he exposed water to kind words and then hateful words. And the water exposed to kind words made beautiful snowflakes, like what you see on the screen. And the water exposed to hateful words looked morphed and unhealthy. I mean, it looked horrible. He did the same thing with crystals. He put them in water. So since the human and animal bodies are comprised mostly of water, this is another way that the body is able to synchronize with the energy of a crystal. So by blending vibrational frequencies together, like oils and crystals, they will form a new frequency. Because crystals and oils work at the energetic level. They can work on the physical body, but they're working at the energetic level. So in this photo, the images on top are crystals that were put in water. The images on the bottom are what the crystal water looked like under a microscope. I think I want that in my body. I want those snowflake crystalline structures. Those are beautiful. And so I want you to keep this in mind when we talk about putting crystals in essential oils, because the liquid can transform based on what it's exposed to. Okay, so let's talk about how do we do this. All right, first thing, there's two things that you really need to know. And these are the two things that other people are not talking about. These are the two things that the businesses selling crystal roller bottles don't know. And they don't know what they don't know. They're not being malicious, but they don't know. And people who are teaching about essential oils and crystals, who have not been trained in the science of crystals, they don't know. But these are the two most important things. Because if you don't look at these two things, you ought not put any crystal in any liquid, whether essential oils or water. Please don't do it. This is what you have to look at. The Mohs hardness of the crystal and the toxicity. Mohs hardness is a scale that was created where every crystal and every gem is rated. And it's on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is the softest. Talc. I want you to think baby powder. That's a Mohs hardness 1. You put that in water, it instantly disappears. Mohs hardness 10 is a diamond. A diamond is incapable of being scratched. It is hard, hard, hard. So when it comes to putting a crystal in liquid, the crystal must be Mohs hardness 6 and higher. Quartz-based crystals are the most abundant on the planet. Quartz crystals are either a 6 or a 7. Some crystals that I love, like calcite crystals, those are Mohs hardness 3 and 4. Calcite can never go in liquid, ever. Can't do it. It'll eventually break down the crystal. And if a crystal starts breaking down in liquid, you never know what's on the inside of that crystal. Crystals grow in the earth. Everything in the earth isn't necessarily beneficial to us. There could have been a mineral that snuck into the crystal growth process that is harmful, like aluminum, asbestos, heavy metals like lead, mercury, nickel. You don't know what's on the inside if you can't see it, so you don't want it to break down. So that's the second thing you've got to look at. You have to look at the toxicity. There's 4,500 crystals or more on the planet that have been identified to date. Most of them are toxic. They contain toxic minerals. They're okay to hold, but they're not okay to put in liquid because they're going to leach into the liquid. So if you are in the essential oil world, you're probably into a non-toxic lifestyle, right? So you're probably switching out your deodorant and moving away from antiperspirants that have aluminum in them, right? So why would you put a crystal that is aluminum based in a roller bottle and rub that aluminum all over your body? And you probably haven't thought about that, right? And that's the thing. These companies don't know. They don't know that. But a majority of crystals have toxic heavy metals in them, and they can't go in liquid, period. I don't care what the Mohs hardness is. They can't go in because it'll leach out. So those are the two things to keep in mind. I go into greater detail in the book, and I actually give you crystals not to put in liquid and then crystals that are safe to put in. And then when you're also selecting how you're going to do this, be really intentional. You know, if you want to create a grounding blend, select a grounding calming crystal and a grounding calming oil. And if you want to create a high vibrational energizing blend, select a high vibrational energizing crystal and essential oil. And don't blend too much together. Like one crystal and one oil or one pre-blended oil. And I like to use crystal chips that I buy in bracelets or necklaces, or really thin points that can fit into a roller bottle. Now, this is a bit controversial. If you haven't figured out by now, I'm an attorney, and I tend to speak my mind, and I tend to stir the pot sometimes with some controversial things to think about, but I want you to think about these things. And so what I have on the screen, this is a bit controversial, especially for people like me who are in the crystal world and we know crystals. And I think that those of us who are in the essential oil world, which I've been in for over 8 years, we don't know what we don't know. And unless you are trained in the science of crystals, you probably didn't know the stuff that I just talked about. And like I've mentioned a couple of times, there are businesses selling roller bottles with toxic and unsafe crystals in them. And I don't call them out by name because that's not who I am. But unfortunately, several are very large companies with the backing of some essential oil leaders. And then people contact me and they're very upset that they spent money and they were actually rubbing these crystal roller bottles that were toxic all over their bodies. So in the oily crystal, I give you a list of toxic crystals and crystals that are Mohs hardness safe to use. And what you see on the screen is actually from a company. I grabbed it at one of their events, and I instantly knew that most of what they were selling, they just didn't know. They didn't know. And, you know, I tried talking to them and they didn't seem interested in knowing about the Mohs hardness and the toxicity. But I sat there and was able to quickly mark off all the crystals in the roller bottles that are unsafe. So on the screen, the crystals that have a red N next to it, N means no, don't put it in a roller bottle because it's toxic. Look at all those N's. And, you know, sometimes it breaks my heart and I feel like I'm the crystal Grinch because a lot of these crystals I love using them. It's just I don't put them in liquid. I love working with black tourmaline. I love working with sodalite and ruby and pyrite and moonstone and lapis lazuli and labradorite is one of my favorites. They can't go in a crystal roller bottle. They're toxic. And then the blue ends. The blue, the most hardness is too soft. So the crystal is going to break down in the liquid, and if there is any toxic mineral on the inside that may not be typical for that crystal, I mean, the way Mother Nature grows crystals, things sneak in. So you don't want it to be most hardness 5 or lower. And so the blue ends too soft. So the company that has worked closely with me, and I don't receive any benefit from promoting them. If you want to buy safe crystal roller bottles, the company is called Silver Orange Boutique. And I would encourage you to get your roller bottles from them because they are safe. They totally redid their supply to be compliant with the oily crystal guidelines. So they are a wonderful company, and they are doing everything that is safe for you. All right, so how do you actually do this? Let's talk about blending your crystals and your essential oils. So you can either blend with an organic carrier oil, and I like to add a little bit of vitamin E or glycerin because they act as a natural preservative, because we know our essential oils generally don't expire, but a carrier oil does. So adding those can extend the roller bottle lifespan. Or you can do a water-based blend, like in a spritzer bottle, and have like a spritzer for your car, a spritzer for your office if you can't diffuse in your office, a oily crystal spritzer for your guest bathroom. And you can add vodka or salt or organic white vinegar as a natural preservative. Don't just use water. You want to put some sort of natural preservative in it, and then you can put your crystals and your oils. Shake, shake, shake. You have a nice water spritzer. Okay, so now I'm going to go into, in the book, I go through the 7 primary chakras, and I make recommendations of crystals and single essential oils. Because in the oily crystal, I don't mention Young Living by name. I don't mention their blends by name because I honor their trademark. So I only mention the single oils. In this presentation, I'm giving you blends. So you're not going to get this anyplace else. So, all right. So let me give you one piece of advice. There are 3 oils in one crystal that when you blend them together, they will balance every chakra. And if you're not familiar with the chakras, it's an energy center in your body that connects to every organ, every endocrine gland, and literally fuels the energy, the chi, the life force energy in your body. So you want to keep them healthy. And there's actually been science that has measured the frequency of the chakras. UCLA did some studies on that. So it's not woo-woo. I mean, there's actually some science behind it, which is fascinating. But if clear quartz is the one crystal that is safe to go in liquid and it will balance every chakra. And then there are 3 oils that I have tested. There could be more, but there are 3 oils that I have tested that will balance every chakra. Divana, lavender, and harmony. So you could do Divana and clear quartz, lavender and clear quartz, harmony and clear quartz, or you could just mix them all together. So I wanted to give you that. But now let's talk about the root chakra. The root chakra is all about feeling grounded to the earth, feeling grounded in your community and your family and your tribe. It's all about security and belonging, feeling calm and feeling confident. And I'm just going to give you one crystal. I give more in the book, but one crystal you can use is red jasper. And the blends that work with the root chakra are Exodus 2, grounding, release, sacred mountain, Sarah, and valor. I mean, valor balances the energies. It moves you out of fear and disappointment, gives you courage and confidence and self-esteem. That is like root chakra in the making. And, you know, in the book, I actually give you an affirmation to use when you are working with your oily crystal blend. Okay, so that's why you want to get the book, because you're going to get a lot more. The sacral chakra, this is your creative, inspirational center in your body. You can create a baby or you can create a business, okay? This is where you create. Now, fear can root in the root chakra as well as the sacral chakra. A good crystal that is safe to use is carnelian. And then the blends are abundance, Christmas spirit, inner child, which really connects you with who you really are, which is love and creativity. That's who we really are, is love and creativity. Inspiration, into the future, gets things moving and going forward and creating, as well as motivation and sensation. And in the book, I give you an affirmation that you can use. Solar plexus, this is right in the center of your stomach, and this is your energy and power center. It's where we can store negative emotions, so it's where we need to release them. And it's where we store powerlessness and stress. So citrine is a good crystal, totally safe to go in liquid. And your blends are acceptance, to release frustration and kind of that pushing back energy that sometimes we can get into. Citrus fresh, common sense, highest potential for releasing limiting beliefs, hope, humility, magnify your purpose, peace and calming, present time, to put your time and energy in the moment, which is very powerful. Release, surrender. Thieves gives you power. And transformation, for releasing resistance to changing negative emotions and belief systems, which can sometimes feel like a power struggle. So those are the blends that work really well with your solar plexus and the crystal citrine. Now let's go to your heart chakra. This is where we store joy, unconditional love, but we also store all the hurts and all the disappointments and all the traumas. And so a good crystal to use here is rose quartz. And your blends are believe, forgiveness, gratitude, and joy. You put those together, oh, like I have goosebumps now just talking about them. They are incredibly powerful. And rose quartz is very soothing and very powerful. Your throat chakra, this is where authentic communication comes from. And so when it's balanced, you're releasing the need to hide your words out of fear of what others may think. So if you feel that you're swallowing your words and you're not expressing yourself, this is a blend you're going to want to make. Blue lace agate is perfect in a roller bottle. And your two blends are Australian blue, which balances and opens the throat chakra, as does Dreamcatcher. Your third eye is right in the middle of your forehead, and this is for clear thinking and vision. It's all about discerning truth and seeing your path ahead. Because, we live in a world now where sometimes I wonder, do we really even know what's true anymore? When you have inner vision and higher truth, oh my goodness, you can make really wise decisions. So amethyst is a great crystal, totally safe to put in liquid. And your blends are awaken, clarity, envision, or white angelica, which is, we know that as a protective, energetically protective oil. And when you're opening your third eye, you want to protect against negative energies. So that's why I like it for the third eye. And then last but not least, the crown chakra. This is the chakra, when it's balanced, we can manifest and we can connect with God, with source energy, with whatever you like to connect with, angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, gods and goddesses, whatever you connect to, the crown chakra is where it happens. And raising our vibration is what is needed in order to open and balance this crown chakra. So clear quartz is your crystal. And your blends are abundance, gathering, because you're gathering your energy to go into a higher frequency. Higher unity, well, gosh, that name says it all. Sacred angel, that name says it all. 3 wise men, and the gift. These are amazing oils for the crown chakra. So again, in the book, I mentioned that there's a lot more in the book, and it's actually a very easy read. It is 32 pages. I even put some citations in there. You're gonna, I go deeper into the frequencies, into the chakras. You get affirmations. I give you 12 of my favorite oily crystal blends for people and 9 oily crystal blends for pets. And here is your coupon code. When you go to the website, Manifested Harmony, in the coupon section, type in the word, no spaces, Doc Ollie. And whether you want to get just the oily crystal, or maybe you want to get the bundle of the oily crystal and the oily pet that I wrote, put that code in and you're going to get 10% on one book or one bundle. If you buy 5 of either book, you automatically get 10% off. If you buy 10 of each book, you get 20% off. If you buy 20 or more, you're going to get 30% off either the oily crystal or the oily pet. And I will give you a free class for your team based on the book that you order. So you'll have a personal class and everybody can ask me questions. I have free shipping in the US and I do ship internationally. My books have gone all over Asia and Australia. They've gone to Europe and Canada. So just contact me for an international shipping price. All right. And how I wrote my books, both the oily crystal and the oily pet, I wrote them so that anybody can teach a class. You can literally read from the book and you can hand it out too. So it's really great for teaching. So if you are a brand partner leader in Young Living and you really want to inspire some of your team to start teaching, give them this book. I wrote it so that everybody can teach because I'm such a team Young Living person. I want everybody out there teaching the oily crystal and even the oily pet. So I would love to stay connected. If you want to learn more about crystals, please hop onto my social media pages. That's my cat, Rudy. You're going to see him all the time. You're going to see my cats. They're super famous. But also think about taking one of my crystal classes. I think you'll really be shocked at the benefits of crystals, and you're going to learn so deeply how they work. You're going to be shocked. You will, I can guarantee you will walk away from even one crystal class and you will just be in awe of what crystals can do. And then when you put them with our oils, oh my word, it's phenomenal. So thank you for listening. And thank you, Doc Ollie, for inviting me to talk about this. As you can tell, I just love this topic. This is like my shtick. This is what I do. So thanks, everybody. And I hope to connect with you online.